it's been one of those weeks, and let's just say it's time to get a bit of perspective, a bit of realism. So today I'm going to talk about this week, really, and it's not been a very good week for me from a health point of view. And as many of you know, and some of you don't know, I've been attending a specialist neurological clinic, and there's other associated stuff. But anyway, suffice to say, physically, you know, I'm not where I was a couple of years ago. Mentally, I think I've got more clarity, which is interesting because it's given me perspective. But what I really wanted to talk about that's been happening this week is I've been contacted by 6 different people asking my opinion on various mediums and whether they're fraudulent or not. And, you know, I absolutely don't care if I say my opinion or not. I think what's really important is that if you're doing this work, you do it with ethics, you do it with kindness. And if you're claiming that, you know, you're working for God or a higher power or something, that you honor that. And the last thing you want to do is be involved in anything that's fraudulent and be associated with it. There's enough out there to damage your reputation, and the worst will come from those who already work in this field. I've experienced it myself many times. It's gone as far as people accusing me of things I have said and done which I haven't. And some of them I have, and I'll always hold my hands up if I have, because I stand by that, and I have no issue apologizing if I'm wrong and making that public. But, you know, I've had various incidents, for example, people contacting people I work for and trying to destroy my reputation. That came as a result of someone who I wasn't impressed with their so-called physical mediumship, who worked for another organization, and that organization tried their damnedest to say very nasty things about me. But it didn't work because the person who I worked for, who they did this to, knew me, knew the quality of my work, and liked the quality of my work, and liked my honesty as a person. So, you know, it never really works. And even if you have experienced fraud or any kind of negativity, you know, there are those who just don't want to believe you or don't want to hear it. The worst thing is when you do call someone out, is the nastiness that goes with it. I think it's fair enough to say, look, let's clear this up and let's lay our cards on the table. But when there are threats and people trying to destroy each other's reputations, it's a pretty shitty world, isn't it, that we're working in. And I think that's what's really important, is to focus on the ethical, focus on the loving aspect of your work, and focus on the passion that you have for it. But mostly if you're working in this field, I think it's absolutely crucial that if you are going to stay ethical, you're not going to hold up or hide when you're confronted with someone who is doing you the deepest discredit and disservice to this world, to your profession, and to people's loved ones. It is the cruelest thing I can imagine, is to fake mediumship and psychic development. And that is why we are in a danger zone. But, you know, I also believe as well that what happens when you reach a certain level of success is there's a tipping point. It's like a balance scale, and it becomes your livelihood. And so it's very important that you maintain your reputation. One of the interesting things is I've worked with a number of people professionally who knowingly employ someone who they know is a fraud in their work and a fake, because that particular person has a big following and because it brings them in a lot of income when they book them. So that's something I have absolutely zero respect for whatsoever. And you can sit there one day with one colleague who is telling you that so and so did this and is a fraud, and then a week later on Facebook you see they're all working together, having a party together, and what's obviously dictated that is money. And we all need to live, but this is a profession where ethics and critics are a huge component of everything that we do. So do think very carefully about who you work with, how you work with them, and if your association with them. I've had many trying to discredit me because of my work with animals. I've even had colleagues go as far as to set up their group students to debate animals, and the difficult thing is, even though I work sentiently with animals, mostly healing, and I work with animals in this life, I tend not to work with the spirit world, even though if we go there, surely they do. We're not superior in any way. So but I don't stand there on a platform and say, your cat is telling me that blah blah blah. I don't do that. But none of them ask that, so they make lots of stupid assumptions and then pass it on to their students that it's not possible, and they try, and they've even gone so far at times to talk to people who are senior in organizations about the work that I do. And the funny thing is, the students have always called them out and not believed them. So there you go. But that's just part of the course, isn't it? And we believe what we believe. There's nothing more stupid about me saying I work sentiently with animals than saying you can speak to a dead person. Let's be realistic about it. Everyone's trying to justify their existence, but it can be a pretty horrible way to work, and yet there is so much beauty in what you do. So I really want to just say, stay ethical, keep your association away from those that, if you're going to go around and tell people you've caught them out in fraud, don't go and work with them just because of your pay packet. Have some honor, have some ethics, have some pride in you and your profession, and stick to your guns. Stay strong. Don't follow the crowd. Bye.